All right, so the word is absolutely clear. Do not panic. Nobody intends to gag the media. President Uhuru Kenyatta on Saturday came out to allay fears that the gains made in enhancing media freedom were about to be trampled upon. The Kenya Information and Communication Bill 2013 has been termed as draconian and one way of taking this country to the bad old dark days. Journalists, politicians, and religious leaders alike have sent a strong message to the president not to assent to the bill. At the same time, amendments to the Media Council bill have been seen as retrogressive. It is believed that the amendments would transform the Media Council of Kenya from an industry self-regulatory body to a state-controlled tool of control and censorship. Of course, a section of members of parliament still believes the bill must be passed in its current form. But other quarters believe, no, it's absolutely unconstitutional. We want to understand the media bill looking at the backdrop of the Constitution. And to tell us more about that is Okongo Omogeni, who is a former Law Society of Kenya chairman. Welcome to the Power Breakfast.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very well. So it's a bit disturbing to hear this debate going on. Other people are saying the bill is unconstitutional, in fact citing certain articles. But then we still have a section of members of parliament who are still saying, let's push for this bill to be assented in its current form. What is your stand on that?
My stand, I don't even need to really think twice about this. We were passing our constitution, trying to extend the freedom of the people of Kenya. And we also wanted to expand the space of receiving information. That's why we said we need freedom of information, we need freedom and independence of the media. This attempt, I think, by the current parliament to pass these extremely draconian laws that are intended to gag the media is backward, to say the least. And I just want to join the many Kenyans in appealing to the president, in appealing to our members of parliament to look at this from the wider picture perspective, not to have some selfish intentions, even if they have differences with particular members of the media, perhaps. We should be looking at the larger national interest. Really, it is taking back all the gains that this country has passed if we try to gag the media. The last thing that we will embrace as a country is a situation where the state is controlling the media. It is dangerous. You cannot predict what will happen tomorrow to journalists. You cannot impose fines that are impossible. I mean, I don't know how much Mutegi has, but if you tell me that if Mutegi makes a mistake,
afford $1 million.
So 1 million.
It's
That's just like that.
It's unfortunate. Really, I mean, even if you want to pass laws that are meant to control the media, you don't make unreasonable proposals, like trying to say you want to fine people $1 million. Simply because Mutegi has said something that is unpleasing to somebody. So I think as a country we should come out strongly, oppose this bill, and urge the president to reject it and return it back to parliament for consideration.
I mean, there are certain people who have expressed, positivity or optimism in regards to the law, the bill rather, saying it's a question of just removing certain elements from the bill. But the bill in its entirety, it's a good bill, so to speak. Would you say that?
No, I wouldn't say so, because, they always say the devil is in the detail.
In the detail.
Yes, the devil is in the detail. I think the first thing that we need to be worried about is this attempt to state that the state now wants to regulate who practices journalism in this country, trying to control what should go to the media in terms of advertisement, the content of what should be in our newspapers, and then worse still, creating a body that will regulate the registration of media houses and people who are practicing journalism. That should be resisted. I think if I were in government, this is a time to step back and say, let's let's listen to the stakeholders. In fact, that bill, if I were the president, I will say I'm returning this bill to Parliament. It should be withdrawn, and then you re-engage afresh people in that sector. And I think the best form of control is self-regulation. I'll have no problem with coming up with a regulation mechanism that is pushed by the players in the industry, that is the media. But to cede that control to the state, I assure you, that is one way of totally gagging the media. And we shall be losing our freedom as the people of Kenya if we allow that to happen.
What do you say to the fact that some media operators do make mistakes? They publish what is not supposed to be published. Say, for instance, the president was complaining about the Westgate, where television cameras were put there and they were seeing people being shot and things like those. How do we control that?
I think first there is a very delicate balance, and going to Westgate, and I'm not saying that the people of KDF were stealing from Westgate. I was told they were just carrying some bottles of water. But if at all...
They didn't buy the water, so they stole it.
But I think if at all the Westgate scenario, if at all the members of KDF were engaging in some criminal acts, and I read in the newspaper that 2 of them have been dismissed.
2 of them, yeah.
The media owes the people of Kenya a duty to reveal that information to us. And I want to say, without the hue and cry that was ignited by journalists, perhaps even those 2 members of KDF could not have faced disciplinary action. So I think that was a very good duty that was undertaken by journalists, that they went out of their way to bring the ugly side of our KDF members. So we owe a duty to our people of Kenya to tell the people of Kenya the truth, even if at times it may be ugly and not pleasant. So I don't think I will attack journalists simply for coming out to tell the people of Kenya the truth. And I think they were very balanced. If you look at the early stages of the Westgate attack, a lot of information was censored from us. We received these things, I saw them from some media houses. I think it was almost 2 weeks after the event. So at that time when KDF, the police, was trying to rescue people and chase away the terrorists, there was a lot of caution from the journalists. In fact, we never saw what was happening inside till after the entire exercise was finalized. So we should also not use that one instance to hit back at the media. We make mistakes. Let me tell you, even judges of the High Court, Mutegi, that's why you see lawyers go to the Court of Appeal and they say, this judge misled himself. And you want the Court of Appeal to reverse that decision. People who practice journalism are human beings. They can make a mistake like any other person. You don't pull heavy artillery on them and say, now that you made one mistake, I'll ensure that I make life impossible for you. That should not be the case.
The claims that Kenyan journalists are not patriotic, that when 9/11 took place in America, you never see bodies. That we in Kenya, when we attacked by terrorists at the American embassy at Westgate, we show body parts. There was a picture which was published by one of the newspapers, which caused outrage. And therefore, they claim that because of those incidents, we need to be controlled. The media need to be controlled.
Personally, I don't know how you measure patriotism, but I will think it's being very patriotic to warn the people of Kenya and say, look, see the kind of exposure that we face. See the risk that is facing you in your day-to-day activities. Now, we are not America, for God's sake. We have our own standards. We have fought for our own freedom. The context of the Americans and the context of Kenya is totally different. And I think, I don't know whether I'm being judgmental, but in my own view, and I've served before as a member of the Media Council, there has been a lot of discipline from journalists in this country. You don't see oftentimes them displaying dead bodies. There's always caution. And even when they want to do it, they will warn you that some of the pictures that we may be showing may be unpleasant. So I think there has been some caution. And if I were in government, what we should do is not to gag the media, but to do capacity building. You know, extend more resources for the training of journalism, give them standards of practicing journalism, strengthen the Media Council so that it can have more training activities for journalists, so that you enhance their standard of professionalism, but not to gag them.
Right, there's something perhaps we need to really address here. We expect Parliament or the legislature to be objective in all its decisions. But in regards to this particular bill, it has been seen as though it's a tit-for-tat game, whereby, you remember, when they were fighting for their salaries, we attacked them, so to speak, attacked them.
Yes.
And a lot of the debates in the House, the media has been seen as an aggressor. Is this bill part of that revenge tactic or tit-for-tat? Would you say that?
Well, I think we must give kudos, of course, to the media for the kind of war that you waged against that greedy attempt by Parliament to increase their PACs, very unreasonable proportions. Now, we expect the men and women who sit in that Parliament not to be vengeful, to be very objective and to be the heartbeat of us, the common mwananchi. I think what I'm seeing, if you look at the way the leader of the government business was trying to marshal support to ensure that that bill is passed, you could read some ill motive that we want to hit back at these guys. You know, they thought that they were better than us, but this is the time to teach them a lesson. That is not the good way of passing legislation. I would like our honorable members of Parliament to also think about tomorrow. Because you may be smiling today that you are gagging the media, but you will need them tomorrow. Any member of Parliament, when his rights are trampled upon tomorrow, they will still need the free media to expose the injustices that they may face. So I would urge them to forget about the duty that the media was trying to undertake at that time. And I think the public mood was with the media at that time. You are just doing your work. You are discharging a very good responsibility as journalists to inform Kenyans that those salaries, taking into account the economic situation of this country, were not welcome to the people of Kenya. If they lose that sense of objectivity, then we have the hope that our president, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, will step in and rein in on them. And the only way we'll do that is to say, gentlemen and ladies, look, this bill is unconstitutional. You are emotional in this. I'm returning it back to you. This time around, good sense should prevail and be objective.
There's a Mwangi from Kisumu has a concern here. Says, Mwakazi, I don't think that bill is bad. But because it touches you as media fraternity, you make Kenyans believe that you are being gagged. Because you don't want to be accountable for your deeds. How many bills have been passed and you don't debate as such? Or is it because you don't read other bills or what? No, stop campaigning. You're brainwashing Kenyans to think that the government is limiting the media. Why don't you highlight the issues you see are bad to us, for example?
I hope my friend in Kisumu, I hope nation has reached Kisumu. Because if you look at the front page of Nation, I think the left
have highlighted.
Even the Honorable Cabinet Secretary is saying that I was kept in the dark. He's actually acknowledging that perhaps if this had been brought to his attention, he perhaps could have given different advice on the bill. So I want to tell my friend Mwangi in Kisumu that this is not just a campaign by the media to run away from accountability. As I said at the beginning, we all desire to have some accountability from the media. But the best way to enhance that accountability is to have a self-regulation mechanism, not to cede that power to the state. And even then, as I said, to make it reasonable and not unreasonable, not draconian. Even if you want to pass some punitive measures against those who are engaging in activities that are not lawful, that are perhaps illegal, that may need to be imposed with some punitive measures. Let those measures be reasonable. Let Mwangi look at the kind of fines. I think there is 20 million.
Yeah, media stations.
Media stations now.
20 million.
That's a colossal and reasonable amount of money. Make it to be reasonable. Yeah.
Now, somebody told me yesterday the reason why I'm opposed to this bill is because I am a media person. I don't travel in public transport. That if you go in a matatu with your children and your wife and you listen to FM in the radio, you might want to alight.
Absolutely. Because
the kind of talk that is on that radio station in that matatu or bus is obnoxious, and it's the reason why the government need to control is because of those kind of characters who have ruined our life by broadcasting insensitive things to families. What do you say to that? How do you manage them?
Of course, it's a very tricky balance between giving room to democracy. I don't know. I hear